Greg Hardy, he's, in MMA now. He's been training for what, 2.5
2
years?
years, yeah, 2 years, yeah.
First of all, how did you guys come across each other? How did that work that he came to the American Top Team? Because you think about Greg Hardy, it's very smart at the very least to come to a training group like yourself. Because you guys are at the top of the list. So for him to even come to you guys, to approach you guys, that's smart on his end.
We're really close with his management team, first round management. So they brought him to us. They brought us, said, hey, you want to train this guy? And, we said, sure, this is what we do.
Yeah.
We train fighters. We got 100 guys right now. We got 50 of them we got about 20 guys living in the dorm. 100 fighters on, training here. That's what we do. Bring them in. We could use the bodies.
No, I heard he was one of the guys who was training 6-7 days a week, doing 2 days and sleeping in the dorm. You really see that that pro athlete. Not saying that MMA fighters aren't pro athletes, but to take that NFL, that crazy nonstop approach that he's bringing over to MMA, that he sees the goal. Maybe some fighters are fighting for their livelihood, fighting to pay rent. We heard the story of Pat Barry. But for Greg Hardy, he's got nothing to lose. He's doing this for the pure competition, in my opinion.
Yeah, he has a family now too, so I'm sure that factors in a bit. So he does have a family. He's got 2 little kids. Mm-hmm. So he's this is his job too. But I learned a lot about football and professional athletes by watching Greg Hardy. They're just different. Right. They're different. They're different than regular MMA guys. Regular MMA guys come up and they're spoiled and they want this and I need pad work and I need this and Greg is like, what do I need to do, coach? You tell me where to be. He's 15 minutes there before I am. He does everything you ask him to do. He doesn't question anything. It's yes, sir, no, sir. And from what I understand, that's from football culture. And there's times where I'm like, Greg, take it easy. I'm your home. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to treat me like I'm on some different level. I'm still Dean Thomas.
You are Dean Thomas.
Yeah,
so you are.
But I don't have to. But he's super, super, super coachable, and he just sits there and he just soaks everything in.
And how quick because yes, he's been fighting for 2 years, been training for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
How quick did he get into the cage where you're like, okay, this guy's definitely ready to start some fighting and to even try to get into the UFC? Because that's a 2-year.
Yeah, it happened so fast.
Did he have boxing experience? Did he have anything else?
No, he didn't. But what he did have was enthusiasm early on. He had been watching MMA for a long time before he started fighting, and he told me he always wanted to fight. Even when he played football, he wanted to fight. So his enthusiasm for fighting is kind of what drove him to where he is. And that was great because he wanted to learn. He wants to learn everything. Everything. He's not I'm just going to come out there and just punch a guy in the face. He wants to learn all the jiu-jitsu stuff, all the wrestling stuff. So he's working with Steve Mako. We're working. Yeah, he in there working. So it's a process, but it's also a project for me. So that's what I like the most about it. It's a project for me.
I was going to say physically, the football players, they're geared to just be explosive for 5 to 15 seconds. A lot of the reps are power reps in the gym room, and you got to extend his gas tank and obviously add technique while you're doing that. Has been an easy transition because we haven't seen any of his fights leave the first round.
I know, and that kind of is problematic for me too because it's bad for me to say, yeah, I wish he would fight a little bit longer, but it's kind of necessary. So I have to make sure that we train longer to get him to get that sensation. I need his body to feel what it feels like. So we do it. So I say, and then I'm always, listen, remember what this feels like. Go out there and do it again. Remember how you feel right now. You're tired. But now you have to go back out there and fight, feeling like this. Because you never felt that in a fight. So remember what this feels like. So we get him really, really, really tired. All right, now go perform. Yeah.
And now, working with other fighters and stuff like that, has been any apprehension from any other fighters? Be like, I don't really want to work with him. Listen, Greg Hardy comes attached with a lot of other things, a lot of other baggage from previous issues. So, the word on the street is people just
not as everybody's as wise as you.
No, listen. Let me tell you something, man. If you know MMA guys, they didn't even know who he was.
That's crazy.
They didn't know who he was. There's 3 guys in the gym who were Will Brooks, because he played football.
Right.
Yeah, Daniel Jolly, his main training partner, and then that's probably it. Nobody else knew who he was.
Wow.
Yeah, MMA guys don't follow football. And then we got, a contingency of Russians and Brazilians.
So
and
they
were just like, oh, a new body, a new sparring partner. Perfect, yeah.
Big boys.
Yeah, that's what it was. And and I ain't gonna lie, man, and Greg went through it all, man. He went through the hazing process. I had to pull him from it because I was concerned about him. He went through the hazing process. He wasn't babied. He didn't come in with this like a prima donna, like, oh yeah, he's a big time star. Let's baby him. No, because they didn't know who he was. Mm-hmm. Junior Dos Santos ragdolled him.
Wow.
Arlovsky busting him up.
And what was Greg's response to that?
Give me more.
Wow.
Greg was used to that. Like, it's like football for him. It was like, that's where like that football mentality switched in for him. Like, boom, I just got blew up in practice. I got to get him back. Mm-hmm. That's what and I was like, Greg, hold on. We can't do that. You're a heavyweight. That's not safe. Okay. We got to slow down a little bit. Yeah. So like, that's the process has been for me, is to slow him down a little bit so that it's not like you said, 5 seconds of pure violence. It's more let's get in the rhythm. Let's have some fun, man. Let's have some fun. Let's have fun beating people up. Let's do it. We can do it for 15 minutes. It don't have to be 5 seconds.
I mean, we see it like, man, he has that scary look, like the Kraken look, as they call them in the NFL, man. But it's like, in practice, does he are you trying to make him flow more and try to relax? Like, because his adrenaline could fall off if he doesn't during the fight.
Yeah, that's true. So I'm always aware of that too. I'm always kind of like, I don't want to pull you too far away from this killer instinct, because as a fighter, you have to have it, because that's when my career went down. When I lost it, I was just out there trying to have fun and trying to, waving at the crowd. Hey, what's happening? And I ain't have it. So yeah, it's true. So I don't want him to lose that. So I'm very delicate with that when I'm like, all right, let's ease back a little bit. All right, now go get him. Yeah. Ease back. Let's find a rhythm. All right, it's open. Get him.
He's very much in attack mode so far. What have we seen? There's been one fight we talked about off there that someone even made an attempt to take him to the ground. He looked pretty good. But this fight going up against Alan Crowder, much smaller opponent. I wrote one of the fights last, I think, versus Walt Harris, I should say. Sorry. Rogan even mentioned that Crowder should fight light heavyweight. He's not a heavyweight guy. So I would think that Crowder's going to try not to stand with Greg and want to take the fight to the ground. Has he impressed you enough, and does he have the skill enough to be able to block attempts, or does his ground game look solid enough at a UFC level?
Yeah, we've worked a lot on that. I mean, heavyweights are – it's like you can hack the heavyweight system. You really can. You can't do it in no other weight. Like, if you have a flyweight, I mean, he has to be good at everything and fast at everything. In heavyweight, you can hack the system.
I know. When I see Verdum's like the best jiu-jitsu guy, still clunky.
And they're clunky. They're clunky, and they're like kind of slow, and you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So you can hack that system. There's a lot of things that you can do to block people and just stop them from getting going. It's when you get lost in that realm of, specialized technique. But when you stop it at the beginning, there's no more technique. You know what I'm saying? You all you need is a couple of inches of space, and then they can't do nothing. So we've covered all those areas.
Can you feel his balance against the cage? I mean, not you specifically. He might throw you outside of it, but can Junior or Andre, can they feel the difference, like his balance or his base, and like the way he's like maybe pushing their heads down? Do they tell you they're feeling something different?
Oh yeah, I mean, something? You know what it is, like when he's like rolling with guys now, it's just like I'm always watching like I'm watching a scary movie with my hands over my eyes or finger, because he's real he's a powerful guy in them spots. You understand, like for his entire life as a football player, he's been like moving guys around for a long time. Like grabbing guys and moving them around. So in them spots, it's like moving another guy. He's just moving them around. He's not letting them get inside on him. He's got his hands in front of him, and he's moving guys around. And he's so dangerous because he's so quick, elbowing, kneeing from in them spots. I mean, he's dangerous in them spots, man.
So for him to say that he wants a title fight, or he wants to work to build up to have a title
sounds
fight
crazy.
Eventually, I mean, is that far off? Do you see that? I mean, you've worked with the best of the best. You've seen them come through your camps. I mean, in 2 years, has he put that out there that you believe in Greg Hardy?
Yeah, in 2 years. In 2 years. But the problem is, if I say 2 years as his coach, if I say 2 years, and if the UFC hears me say 2 years, they're gonna do it next year.
Yeah,
that's the problem. I need 2 years. I can't do it in another year. It's not gonna be enough for me. In fact, for him to be in this position now was a little fast for me as a coach. I'm like an overprotective parent. I'm like, we need a little more time.
Sorry,
like,
Ethan. Greg's first right now.
Yeah. My son's in here. He's like, "What are you talking about, Dad?" Yeah. But no, I'm like an overprotective parent. Like I would like to work with him more and make sure that he's prepared physically and mentally to go into these challenges against these other guys.
You think he'd be in a better position too if it wasn't like the co-main event to the? Do you think they rush it with that too? I mean, that not for nothing, but UFC wants to throw him out there as fast as possible. They see
why? I mean, why wouldn't they? I mean, why wouldn't they?
See
Yeah.
a star. There's gonna be buzz around him no matter what. You obviously know that's gonna come. So they want to throw him out there. Do you think it's like, could we put him on like the undercard prelims? I mean,
I wish I had that power. Like I wish me and Dana are friends, and I wish I could say, Dana, let's
guys do a fantastic show together.
Yes,
thank you very much. Thank you very much. But when it comes to business, it's what they do. Right. I train Greg, and what they do is business. And I would never allow Dana to come into my office on the mat and tell me how to train Greg. And for the same reason, I'll never call Dana and say, "Hey, man, this is too fast."
Gotcha.
Amazing. Moving back to physically, I look at John Kavanaugh and Conor McGregor, and I look at it's the canvas and the painter or a science experiment and his tools. When Conor was training for the Floyd, I think they miscalculated. Every other fight before that's been beautiful calculations. I hate the rabbit punches. I felt like Conor was wasting energy when he was hugging him on the far side hip. Miscalculated that. Before that, John's been on fire. With Greg, 19 sacks in the NFL. Not too many people in history have done that, man. He's literally an elite athlete. Do you feel very confident, or you just because he's your experiment? I'm saying that you're the scientist. He's the canvas.
Yeah.
How do you approach this, man? Because this is literally MMA history that you're dealing with. Right?
Yeah, I know. I realize that too. But like I said, he's an amazing athlete and he's super intelligent. Again, like he's been playing football, and he often says to me, people see football players as just like these aggressive, explosive athletes, but to be able to play at that level,
nobody knows the footwork of a
well, not even that, but like he says, the amount of studying that they have to do. Like they have to remember playbooks. Like 25 pages, and then the next week have to do it again for another team. Wow. And they have to memorize every play. So I said, that hit me. I said, we're going to treat this just like that. When this guy comes at you with his hands in this position, this is what you do offensively.
And he's responding.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I say, when he comes at you this way, this is how we handle that. This is the play for that. So it's just about communication. You got to be able to communicate with your fighters and make sure that it works. And the only thing that ever scared me about Greg too is that he is so explosive and is so fast. Is that like I'm just like, dude, you can move forward faster than any human being I know. Wow. Just don't run into a punch when you do it. You know what I'm saying? Just don't run into a punch because you will knock yourself out if the guy accidentally hits you.
That's true.
Yeah.
True.
And then on a personal level too, like has he shown any signs of discussion at all, of talking to you, any sort of like, I don't want to say, is he fully confident in this mission that he has? Is there any sort of like talk about like, his past, that he's a little nervous? Because I mean, we all have nerves. I've read something about Cowboy recently saying that like one of his title fights that he had, he just wasn't ready for it. He was just completely out of it before he even stepped in that cage. Has he talked at all about like maybe he's a little nervous getting into that cage at all? Or
no, he hasn't. But he also does a really good job of mentally putting himself in the right position. And the one thing he likes to do, and I never had to tell him to do this, and I always recommend that my fighters do this, and that's before you train, mentally prepare and get yourself in the headspace. Okay. Yeah, like I see a lot of guys, they train, they just show up, put some gloves on, do the little crappy warm-up, and then they train, and then they train, and they go home, and they do this every day. And then when the fight comes, they don't know how to prepare themselves because they've never done it before unless they fought before. And if you fight, you only fight twice a year, so you're really not getting into a routine. Okay. But Greg does this before every practice. Like he'll warm himself up on his own, he'll put his headphones on, and it's almost like he's in the tunnel of a fight. And he does this before every practice. So it's all he has. So he's not going to get nervous because he knows how to stay inside his own head. Yeah, he's not distracted by all this external stuff.
Approach, the 2-minute drills, the 4-minute drills.
Yeah, for sure.
Bang that away.
They bang him out, but he just knows how to get into his own zone and stay in his own head and block out all the distractions.
In his own right, he might be like a pioneer in the sense that he can incorporate like the the athlete, like an NBA or an NFL and MLB athletes, like routine into the MMA thing. Because like we were saying before off the air, like the MMA guys, like I'll just show up, I'll roll around, I'll do my thing.
It's like that, man. It really is like that. But he's different. That's what I was saying. He opened up my eyes to this world of true professional sports, and it's different because when you're like Greg, he was when you're talking about NFL teams, like there's millions and billions of dollars in that.
Oh yeah.
In MMA, like most of these guys are dealing with like a couple thousand.
Yeah.
So like
20s, I'm like,
damn. So like they're not like real. I mean, they're not like they're most of these guys have been doing this a couple years. Like Greg has been in athletics, like combat. As far as like football, I'm gonna consider that a combat game. It's a combat game. He's been doing that since he was a young boy. So, man, he's just a different athlete.